Yeah. I like your little ponytail.
Little buns.
They cute.
Right. This gonna be a quick one, y'all. So,
I can't
basically, I
even
want to
see
talk
where
about
we at.
what you mean.
Like I don't know where we at.
What you mean? Huh?
Yeah. Like,
What?
is, is that me? Hold on. Okay, I'm here, but I hear a double talking. If you have another device,
It's an echo. It's an echo. Oh, she left. Duckles, do I have a echo? It's some feedback. Should I do it again?
what about now?
I hear you fine. You hear feedback on my end?
No. Hey
Okay.
everybody.
Hey y'all. This gonna be a quick one. So this one's about we're all male centered. And the motivation for this topic was essentially okay, it might have been me then. Essentially like this idea that like women are like decentering men, and the view becomes like, okay, men need to decenter women. But it's very important for us to understand that the patriarchal society that we live in, everybody is male centered, and that's the default. When women are decentering men, we are dealing with our internalized misogyny and shifting our perspective through the lens of a woman and our experiences. But us feeling like we have to like do things for men or have a man or have proximity to men is part of like being male centered. And men also want proximity and validation from other men. Did you want to comment on that, Mia?
Yeah, I think I agree. Uh I think that the reason why is based on the way we are socially constructed, right? I think that we have been using like social construct wrong, and I got a lot going on, so just give me a second, but I want to start with this. um like we are like it's so deep that we don't recognize. I don't think that we realize that we are doing things for male validation. We don't realize that it's a fear, but it is a part of the social construction. So yeah, everybody does it.
Yeah, it's that bright light was getting on my nerves. Let me undo it. Yeah. So when it comes to like the social construct, and you saying that we define it wrong, I'm interested in that, to be honest. Um, I just think it's just interesting to see. Not it's important that we realize that we live in a society where essentially everyone is male centered, and we all are conditioned to hate women, whether you're a man or a woman, whatever. The idea is that we put men on a pedestal, and everyone does, and it's not a like this dichotomy was like one side and the other. No, everybody's conditioned to like want male validation. And it's important to understand that because when it comes to men specifically, they do things for each other. They don't do it for us. So one of the things that come up was like, well, are doing everything so they can have proximity to women, and that's not the case. Men decision on what type of women they want to be with is based on what other men want and what will get validation from other men. Men will not establish relationships with women out of the idea that not out of compatibility, but on what their friends were like. And even outside of relationships, men do not center women issues, because if men were basically centering women issues, we wouldn't have issues with like femicide, domestic violence, sexual assault, the way that we see it, or when it comes to like women losing reproductive rights, men would do the things that women want. It even come down like preference when women say they want to live in a world where men have more emotional intelligence. We end up with a lot of men who are centering what other men want when it comes to like they talk about height, when they talk about like their body type, we come to establishing like access to resources, things that are used to control women and dominate women. It doesn't make sense. Even when it comes to pleasure, men don't censor women's pleasure. And one of the
Yeah, we
things we
was.
see when
Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
We
No, you good.
that conversation. So a couple things when I think about men not censoring women, like even when you talk about dating and it's like what other men want, because women are a commodity, women are a resource, women are a thing that proves that you have money. And I saw something the other day where this woman was explaining what the woman would look like for a man with new money versus a woman with a man with old money. And that right there just shows you like where we are with that. And then it also can change depending on what area you're in. So it's never about like an actual connection or how you feel about this woman. The woman is the accessory to show that, hey, I have made it, this is my status, this is where I'm
Yeah.
at. And in some cases where you have men who are poor or who are at the bottom or who are dumb or stupid, whatever it is, they're lower caste amongst the men, then them having a woman or having a lot of women or being able to have a bunch of children or being able to have access to a bunch of women who, no matter what they look like, is their way of showing the status of what type of man that they are or trying to have a piece of it. And then what was the other point that you made? Damn, I forgot. Um, but I had want to speak to that. It was something else you said. Okay, I don't know. I don't know what else it is, but I'll leave
It
it.
might come back up.
Yeah, I will.
Um, so first thing I wanted to cover is like essentially what is male centeredness, and kind of touched on this. It's essentially like your perspective of the world and your lens to everything is through the male's perspective, right? Your idea on what being a woman is isn't about being yourself or being what like true to like who you feel you are. It's about basically this persona of this emphasized femininity about what attracts to men, right? What men want. You value your body based on if men find you attractive, your personality when it comes to certain traits that are seen as like assertiveness is a big one, where like it's not it men will criticize for you to be in assertiveness, speaking up, assertive or speaking up for yourself. Essentially, you're expected to like make yourself small. This idea that you're supposed to move in a certain way, your tone should be a certain way. It's very male centered, and it doesn't serve women to kind of like trying to fit in that role, because essentially you end up in a place where servitude and you are agreeing to give up your identity. You don't, and it's hard to like even establish relationships with other women because you value what men say over women. And that's where you get certain talking points like um essentially, women who say like, well, I don't get along with women but I hang out with men, or like all that it encompasses like what male centeredness is being. um and it's not even about women focus is like being focused on yourself. That's what the social conditioning
But
is. It
but
makes
the
you take a
oh,
back seat. Go ahead.
but the reason why is because a part of the way this social construct is that you specifically with women have to have validation from men. They have to be desired by men, they have to be wanted by men. So if that's the case, you're going to do everything for male's approval, because men are like the daddies or the kings or the superior beings. So if you want to make sure that you're on the right track, being in agreement, being in community, whatever that look like, being in proximity, I should say, not community, because it's not. It's definitely a hierarchy on top of a hierarchy, but being in proximity to men is going to prioritize things. So you seem like the cool girl if you could say, "Hey, I get along with men. I understand men. I know how to deal with men. I get along better with men. Men are this, men are that." Or if you could say, "Hey, I get all this attention from men." All those things are what's necessary, because you in this society, you are constantly operating from a very, very, very hollow, shallow place. And on top of that, you're being critiqued and demonized, and you're weighing all this weight as a woman on your shoulders of just not being good enough. So you're constantly seeking value or seeking validation from me, and it's by design to be like that. So a lot of times women, I don't even think women recognize this what they're doing, because like it starts so early, like it starts so early. The conditioning of how girls are even supposed to interact with boys and men, like it's very early. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think
So,
that it's like
and
mhm.
some of the ways that when it comes to interactions, some of the ways that show up is like the way we judge other women, right? Women tend to be more critical of other women while giving men grace, right? And the judgment is like how women show up being this basically trope, where you're expected to not behave certain ways, essentially being desirable, or when it comes to submission. Also, that like when it comes to like the pick me culture, right? Women are not pick me's by like because they strive to just please another person, but a lot of it is rooted in survival, right? When it like we live in a capitalistic society and you need access to resources to essentially survive, or when it comes to fitting in amongst people and not being outcasted. Like that stuff is important in the society that we live in. Even and I think the more detrimental one that I've noticed, especially being in spaces where like feminism is the focus and we're talking about like what we need to do as a collective to kind of like liberate and empower each other. A lot of times the message still revolving around changing men, right? Instead of us understanding that this is way men are conditioned, this is something men will have to fix on their own. What are we going to do? Too many women are focused on how to change the mindset of other men, which is a problem. Like, if men respect other men, there's nothing we can say to change them. That's something they're going to essentially strive to do. But us hyper focusing on changing their perspective is a problem. We should be basically looking to educate each other and uplift each other, build our own communities, to basically fight for what we need or find places where we can provide comfort to each other. But again, that's always heartbreaking when I hear like women using the chance to speak to basically speak to men. Like that's the predator. Like you're not going to get nowhere with that. But gaslighting and a bunch of bullshit.
And I think that's why, like, even for me, I have like shifted like my message from being like me, like kind of trying to like see if I can get men to answer these questions, to me more so making statements about, like, in a matter of fact way, this is how men are, this is what we got today. Like whatever this idealistic view has not been enough. Like, we have not progressed by having conversations based on the idea of what a what's the word, not utopian, but what's the word where it's like more community, it start with an E,
Matriarchal,
not matriarchy but
egalitarian.
egalitarian. Like that would be beautiful, but that's not what we're dealing with right now. And as far as I can tell, I don't know if we'll be dealing with that in the next 100 years. So we got to deal with what we have to deal with, and I think that's why it's been more so like having a more direct conversation with women, saying, hey, this is what it is, you have to navigate around this, that's it. Like, awareness and understanding so that you can move around it. You can't change it. You can't even focus on trying to change it. And it also goes for those women who are aware and relatively conscious. It's saying, hey, you're going to also run into other women that are stuck in this, and you can't change her. All you can do is learn how to navigate around her. You can have more compassion and empathy for her, but you got to move around because it could be detrimental. And I think that understanding that for those women who do want to engage with men, then baby, you have to follow the rules. Like, you're
Yeah.
going to have to play a game. You cannot have this like this whole like just innocent, like, oh, like romanticized fairy tale delusion about it. You got to play the game. You got to be ready to perform femininity. You got to be able to take certain things. You got to accept certain things. You got to know what you're getting yourself into. And if you're not willing to play that game, you can't be involved. But when you had mentioned about us being in survival, I think that the another part about um being male centered, it doesn't allow people, no matter who the people are, to have any empathy for the fact that women have been in survival mode for thousands and thousands of years. There's
Yeah.
no empathy, there's no care, there's no compassion. And that's a symptom of the patriarchy, that's misogyny. Like, in any of these systems, right, you got to have a scapegoat. In all of these systems, you got to have a punching bag. For all this stuff to work, these hierarchies to work, it got to be somebody that you can always lean back on when the going get tough. And women, specifically cisgender, biological, however you want to put it, women are going to be the punching bag, because a lot of this stuff was built on the womb envy, the jealousy, the insecurities of male humans who saw in female humans, in women, this power that they did not hold themselves. So when I think about that, another part of it is women who do perform, who do try to fit in, you're never gonna be enough in this type of system. That has to just already be something that you know. You're not gonna be enough, no matter how you do it. And the last thing I want to say before you go on to the next thing is, because you're not gonna be enough, you can't save these men. It ain't even that Tara is telling us something like radical. We absolutely can't save these men. Love don't save them. Warmth don't save them. Nothing's going to save them. You have to save yourself. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna land with that.
and I think when you said, I think it's important when you say like the change would it took a long time to like undo something that's been going on for thousands of years. That doesn't become discouraging. And one way you look at how things are changing for women now. And I think one of the scariest things is basically how the conservatism kind of push back on women when it comes to like rights and laws. But we have to understand, even like those last like ways to try to dominate and like assert power, like that doesn't mean we can't continue to progress. That's important. And we have to understand that, especially when you're talking about like women don't even realize they're doing these things. The first thing we have to be on the same accord. More women need to understand what's actually going on, because we talking about like, especially when it comes to the romantic relationships, right? Rom coms are like popular. I've been talking about like these Chinese. I've been watching a lot of these Chinese dramas, and a lot of them is like this romanticized view of what like relationships is. When I look at it, some of these videos been posted like a week ago, and they got millions of views. Like a lot of women are still consuming this information. When it comes to like the next generation, they changing like the curriculum. A lot of like propaganda going out. The algorithms are like pushing people in different spaces, and the reality is like we need to understand it. Not enough women understand what's going on, right? And that's why
Right.
I say like we're all male centered, right? That's not because when we call women pick me's, right? That's internalized misogyny, and that one of the realization I had to realize is that like no, I'm a pick me too, and there's a spectrum of the way that looks, right? Because I can't just say I've decentered everything and I don't know. You don't smell the shit that you sit in. There's a lot of ways that like I could be male centered and not even realize it, and it's not about me saying I'm here and I've achieved something. Is understanding that okay, it's about me valuing myself, seeing who my community actually is, connecting with other women, and using the information that we have or that we can learn, and based on our experiences and the way that we see the world versus things that might be a spot for another person, and basically progressing toward this more, seeing the world for what it really is, and a way to like liberate women. So it's like it wouldn't be overnight, but it happens. But even in the community, right? Even in gaining community, even by like you have to go over like I believe you go through like the stages of grief for understanding that you've been lied to and that you have been indoctrinated and the world is not the way that they say that it is. But when you realize that and you have other people to support you, even that journey can be enjoyable. Even that journey makes you feel more empowered and liberates you as a person. And you're willing to let go of those fantasies. Because if you don't let go of the fantasy, you're still going to be fucked. And I realize a lot of women are struggling with that. A lot of women don't want to let go of that fantasy, essentially, um, where a man is going to come in and be the knight in shining armor and save them. But no, that's not going to happen because in a relationship, again, you're going to lose your identity and like your role will be servitude. That's how you were conditioned, and I think that's important of part of it.
And I
Um, Go
and I
ahead.
think and I think that with that, yeah, and it's a hard pill to swallow, because that is the downside. And I think that I want women to get angry about how society is mocking, they're mocking us. Like they're saying, they're finding every way they can to make it seem like it's an even playing field no matter what. Women have been sold this romance, this delusion, and women live in that delusion, and they have reactions to it. And people hold this, our society holds on to those reactions that we have within that delusion. Like what I'm saying is, women have this fantasy of loving a man and saving a man and him being a knight in shining armor. And when he doesn't do it and he is manipulating, gaslighting, and harming, like harming this person, this woman, and she may react, she may do something, whatever that behavior is, whether it's physical, verbal, or something else, and the whole society say, see, women are just as evil, see, women are doing all these things, they are mocking. So you have to, for your own sanity and for us to have some type of break or some, I don't know, you have to get out that delusion. And I know the other day when I was talking to Asaya, because anybody from the TikTok world knows that Asaya, myself, and Lynn have been had this, like, they call us 3LW, but it's been a fucking rivalry for probably about over a year now. But the one thing that I've recognized as I've been growing, although I still believe that Asaya is harmful, the other day when I was listening to her, and even when I listened to some of her videos, um, although I have called her a pick me, although I feel a way about her based on where she falls on the spectrum, and of course I feel like I'm doing better because I have grown. I'm telling y'all, I felt so much like fucking just like this pain, like she was like a daughter or my niece or something, to hear this baby want so bad to have this relationship that I know is not going to be the way she thinks it's going to be. It's so heartbreaking because, yeah, she got problems, but she's literally socialized to be like that. She's literally been spoon fed this idea. And I just hate that she may end up having to have, like, experience certain things that I just don't think she deserves to experience, regardless of how I feel about her politics. And and even though I know what she may be, what she may walk into, because I don't want her to hurt, I'm like hoping she find a fairy tale. Like at this point, I'm like, I pray to God she find it. But she's a perfect example to me of how this dream is sold, and how if things crumble, she's gonna be dragged. And this the same society that told her to go the path that she's going. When shit hit the fan, they're gonna be dragging her, and that's the part that's sickening to me. So I just like that you made that point, because I just think that was important too.
Yeah, I think the reality is that as women, we're taught to center men and their egos and their opinions and their perspectives before like ourselves. Like we never develop a sense of self. And I think when you're doing the work on the like doing that self discovery journey and you find someone, wherever they may be, there's going to be a clash, right? But I think having the empathy, it's something that it doesn't come right away. I'll say that because, like, initially I get it. Like, you want to be like, no, you stupid bitch. But a lot of times that stupid bitch that we're talking to is another version of ourselves of a different time because, like, we have a hard time even forgive ourselves for falling for it, to be honest. So like it's like it becomes like this mirror. You becoming this, but you're putting a mirror up to me of who I was and I can't stand it. So I'm gonna take it out on you. But like over time we develop this level of empathy and realize, you know what, we are the same. Right. And you it's not like you constructed this plan to harm me, even though you can be harmful and I need to have boundaries, but I can have empathy for the fact that like the same way that I was conditioned and I'm trying to deconstruct from that type of thinking, you're also in that same situation. And I think that level of empathy is what helps elevate you outside of, I don't even like the word elevate, but kind of helps you get out of that thought process that box you're pushing in the first place. Because not shouldn't see you as an enemy. I see this as the result. And a lot of reasons we even having these conversations, because I think the most I learn is on the back end. The most that we learn is like the conversation where it's more relaxed. You just have there's no distractions, no one trying to argue with you. On the back end, the books we read, the research that you do when it comes to like maybe some articles that you're reading, like in real time talking about experiences. And on the front end, I what I consider that, even though it's still a learning process, what I consider that is that's that's supposed to be for the community. That's for a random woman who's like just out there looking for entertainment and come upon like, hold up. Maybe there's something I haven't thought about. And also maybe something like other people who add something to the conversation, because that's the thing about community. You can't just do it on your own. This individualistic mindset is something we kind of inherit living in a patriarchy, but the goal is that like it needs to be more collectivistic. Like I would say like a lot of the aha moments I would not have reached only seeing my own worldview, only my perspective. And I think that's the community that women build. It's not the default because we're male centered, but as we deconstruct from that, that's what we see. We see stronger community. We see more perspectives and we become more respectful of other women over time. And it is a tragedy because like you don't want it. That's the goal. Can we stop this shit? And it's like that's one of the actual developable milestones when you get older. You can be someone who feels like your life wasn't fulfilling enough, you did the right things and you didn't get what was promised to you, so you want to harm the next generation. Or you could feel like, all right, that was my life, these are my experiences, this is what I learned and I want to give to the next generation. It's very important to understand that um one will leave you with a lifetime of regrets and being actually bitter, and another one you start feeling fulfilled with like what you have contributed, and you don't want to take the pain that you basically endure and just put it on another person. You understand that it was done on purpose, but I don't want you to have to go through this. I'd like, even if I have to go through this like something that almost broke me and came out of it, and like it could have caused me to have PTSD, anxiety, depression, whatever. I don't want that for you. I don't want that for women coming behind me. And I think that's important because if not, what the fuck are we talking about? I don't know.
Yeah,
Um,
and
Go ahead.
and I know people saying that it's feedback out. Because I seen Lady Q said it and Dark Horse, but I don't know what it is because I don't hear it. So hopefully, I don't know. Hopefully, it don't be that bad on the stage, Tara. I don't know what's going on, but
It's fine. We gonna get through it though.
yeah, but I absolutely agree with you, and I think that I want to say this real quick so you can move on because we cutting it close. Um, I'm so grateful in me in me being able to be slightly open-minded to hear other people and being able to mingle in spaces that was so uncomfortable to me. My journey in coming into like TikTok in these spaces was me kind of being able to be around opposition, and it allowed me to not be just in a box, and now we're able to think and be more critical and not just be falling for anything. And in that, I've been able to open my mind, my eyes about a lot of things, and I've been able to also, oddly enough, develop more empathy for women, like whom I described earlier, where I was so just like wanting to like, girl, like you stupid, and now I'm more like I can give grace, and that's necessary. So I'm glad that you pointed that out too. That was big.
Okay. For the sake of time, because I'm trying to be more consistent with these, I also wanted to talk about men being male centered, but I think I'm gonna hold off until tomorrow because I want to keep these conversations around 30 minutes. Because we have a habit of getting on here and we could be here for hours, y'all. So I'm gonna leave y'all with a question. First off, if you haven't subscribed to my page, can you subscribe and like the comment, like the video? I appreciate it. But my question is for you women who are watching this, even now doing a live or later. I want you to think about something you've done out of fear of making men uncomfortable, even if meant betraying yourself, right? And you realizing now what does that do for you. So that's the question I'm gonna leave y'all with. Thank you, Mia, for coming up. I had questions for Mia, but I was tripping. I don't need questions for Mia because Mia going to have something to say regardless. But I'm gonna
Exactly.
I'm gonna come back. But I'm gonna come back tomorrow, and tomorrow about 30 minutes. Y'all hold me to that. And I want to talk about how men are actually male centered also. But
And
thank
I'm
you,
a
Mia. You want go ahead.
Yeah, and I'm gonna do my live tomorrow too, and I think that I'm going to piggyback off of Tara, and I think that I'm going to try to keep mine down to 30 minutes or 45 minutes because I think me and Tara are trying to cover similar things, so I think it'd be beautiful to tag team it like that. So I'm gonna try to hold myself to it too. So Tara gonna go live for 30 minutes, and then I'll follow behind her for 30, maybe 45 minutes, and maybe we can get some like we can really cover some stuff. But I also think that it'll allow us to sit and process some things. So I love your idea about that, Sarah, because maybe it won't be like an overload of information. So yeah, I'm excited. I love this. I appreciated this.
So let me repeat the question. What's something you've done out of fear of making a man uncomfortable, even if it meant betraying yourself? That's what I'm asking y'all. If you have a question you want us to cover in the next couple lives, make sure you put it in the comments. I'll read them before I go to the next live. But thank y'all. We out of here. How I
Bye,
end this?
y'all. See y'all later.